Okay, now in this video, we may have some background music because my son's practicing the piano, so you might hear it. That's okay. Maybe I'll just talk a little bit louder. In the second example, we have a table that relates the dollars spent for gasoline purchases to the amounts of gasoline bought. Now, in this case, again, we ask ourselves, does how many gallons we buy depend upon how much we spend, or does how much we pay or how much we spend depend upon how many gallons we buy? And I think the dollars spent should depend upon how many gallons we buy. So dollars spent is the dependent value, which goes into list 2, and that makes the gallons bought the independent value, and that will go into list 1. Okay, so what we are going to do then is on our calculator, we are going to go to our lists, and on our list, again, we go to Stat, hit Enter on Edit, and one thing that we want you to do when you clear out these lists is you're going to scroll up so that list 2 is highlighted, and then hit Clear, Enter, and that's going to get rid of all the data in the list. Then we left arrow and do the same thing for list 1. Clear and Enter. So we're going to put the number of gallons bought into list 1. So that's going to be the 2.5, the 2.8, 2.3, 2.6, 3.3, 1.3, 2.2, and the 1.1. And then we right arrow over to list 2, and then there we're going to enter the dollars spent: 10, 11, 9, 10, 13, 5, 8, and 4. And again, paying close attention that we have the same number of data points in list 1 as we do in list 2. Otherwise, we're not going to have, the calculator's not going to be able to graph it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the y equals screen and delete the equations that we had in there. And again, to get the window to fit around the data we have, we're going to hit zoom 9. And there's the data. Now in this case, the data is going to fit around the line pretty closely. So that's pretty good. So next we're going to run that linear regression again. So we're going to run linear regression by hitting Stat, right arrow to Calc, and then we're going to run the linear regression, which is number 4. So we have list 1, list 2, and again we're going to store the regression equation in y sub 1. So we're going to go to bars, right arrow to y bars, hit enter on function, and hit enter on y sub 1. So again, we're telling the calculator to put that equation into y sub 1, and we're going to actually calculate that this time. So here's the equation. So it's basically 4.67 g minus 2.08. So our equation is the dollars spent equals, and when we go back to our calculator, we've got 4.67 times the number of gallons And our B value is negative 2.08. So, minus 2.08. So, again, what the slope basically means is that for every gallon more of gasoline we buy, the cost increases $4.67. So that's basically the price per gallon. The y-intercept is, even though it doesn't make much sense, the y-intercept basically means that if we bought 0 gallons of gas, we would spend negative $2.08, which means we'd get paid if we didn't buy any. Again, doesn't make much sense, but that's what it means. So, to give the value of the correlation coefficient, again, we look back at the calculator, and it's the R value 0.984. So we have R value is approximately 0.984. And this data fits a line a little bit better than the data in the previous example. So, we're going to go back to the calculator, and once again we told the calculator to put that equation in y sub 1 so that when we hit graph we also have that line. So what we're going to do next is answer part C, and what part C asks is we're going to use the equation to estimate the cost of buying 5.7 gallons of gasoline. So, again, 2 ways we can do it, and I'll show you both of those methods. We can do it on the graph by hitting trace. And again, we want to make sure we're on the y sub 1, not the plots. So we're going to down arrow, and now y sub 1 is there. And we are going to put 5.7. Now, when we hit enter, what's going to happen is now we've got an error. Okay, not uncommon, but here's what's going to happen. Okay, so we're going to quit that, and the problem with this error is that when we hit graph, our graph is probably not going out to 5.7 yet. So we're going to hit the window, and I was right, we're not out to 5.7, so we want to go up to maybe like around 6, just so we go past 5.7. And if we hit graph again, now what happens is, if 5.7 is out here, we're not going far enough up. Well, we have more trick-or-treaters. Maybe I should go show them this graph and they get really scared. Anyway, so we're going to adjust to window again, and we're going to go down to the Y max, and we're going to adjust the Y max. We're going to down arrow till we get to the Y max. Went too far. So we're going to go, and maybe we need to go to, say, 30. Okay, on the Y max to hit, now we hit graph. So now it looks like we're going to be able to see where 5.7 lands. So we're going to hit trace. And again, we want to be on Y sub 1. So we're going to down arrow till it says Y sub 1 up here at the top of the screen. And we're going to just enter 5.7. So there's a big 5.7 down at the bottom of your screen, and we're going to hit enter. And the cost of 5.7 gallons of gas is about $24.57. So we're going to write that down. $24.57. That's what 5 gallons of gasoline would cost. Now, the other way we could do this is to go to the home screen, second, quit, and we're going to call back y sub 1 by vars, right arrow to y vars, hit enter on function, and then hit enter again on y sub 1. And we're going to put that number of gallons into the parentheses, in for x. So we're going to hit 5.7. And then we're going to hit enter. And look, we get the same answer as we did using the graph. Now, one thing with that graph, with the second method I did as opposed to the graph, is that went a little bit quicker this time. I didn't need to fumble around with the window. So we're going to go back to the graph, take a look at this, and we're going to take a look and see what part D asks us. And if we have a $20 bill, we're asked how many gallons can we buy. So we're going to go back to the calculator, and in y sub 1, we're going to put 20 into y sub 2. So then when we hit graph, we're going to have a second line that's graphed. And as long as you can see that intersection on the screen, you can calculate it. So again, the calculate menu is at second, trace, and we're going to calculate an intersection, number 5. And it's going to ask first curve, y sub 1, yes. Second curve, y sub 2, yes. And that's going to ask you for a guess, but that doesn't matter. The calculator automatically snaps to that intersection. And if you have a $20 bill, you can purchase about 4.7 gallons of gasoline. And in the next example, we're going to talk about pandas and their weights.